In the vast center of North America lies a land that often escapes global attention, yet plays an essential role in shaping the identity of an entire nation. Iowa is not defined by skyscrapers or oceans, but by something more fundamental: land itself. For centuries, this region existed in silence, untouched by modern civilization, shaped only by wind, water, and time. The land stretches endlessly, forming a natural rhythm of rivers, hills, and fertile plains that would later become the backbone of American agriculture. But long before it was called Iowa, this land already carried stories written not in books, but in soil, stone, and memory. Before recorded history, Iowa was part of a larger world, dominated by prehistoric cultures that lived without written language, but with deep environmental understanding. These early inhabitants shaped their existence around survival, adapting to seasons, migration patterns, and natural cycles that dictated life and death. Archaeological evidence suggests that early human presence in the region dates back thousands of years, long before modern borders or nations existed. This land was not empty, it was alive with invisible history. Every river bend, every forest line, every elevated mound held meaning for those who lived here long before the arrival of modern civilization. One of the most mysterious civilizations tied to early Iowa history are the so-called mound builders. These ancient cultures constructed massive earthworks across the landscape, some shaped like animals, others aligned with astronomical events. These mounds were not random constructions. They were spiritual centers, burial grounds, and possibly astronomical observatories. Their purpose remains partially unknown, but what is clear is their sophistication. They understood geometry, astronomy, and environmental engineering in ways that continue to puzzle modern archaeologists. Even today, these ancient formations stand as silent monuments, reminding us that Iowa's history did not begin with written records, it began with vision, ritual, and connection to the cosmos. The name Iowa originates from the Iowa people, one of the most significant Native American tribes in the region. They called their homeland Beautiful Land, a reflection of both its physical richness and spiritual importance. Their society was deeply structured around natural cycles, with seasonal migration patterns that followed the availability of resources. The Iowa lived in harmony with the land, using rivers for transportation, forests for shelter, and plains for agriculture and hunting. Their social structure emphasized community, oral storytelling, and spiritual balance. But their world would soon be disrupted by forces far beyond their control, marking the beginning of a transformation that would permanently reshape the region. The Mississippi River served as the lifeline of early Iowa civilizations. It was more than just a river, it was a highway of communication, a source of food, and a spiritual boundary between worlds. Entire communities formed along its banks, relying on its seasonal rhythms for survival. Fish, fertile soil, and transportation routes made the river one of the most valuable natural assets in North America. Even today, its presence continues to define the geography and economy of the region. Without the Mississippi, Iowa's history would have taken an entirely different path. In 1673, two French explorers entered the Mississippi River system, marking the first recorded European contact with the region. Jacques Marquette and Louis Joliet traveled through uncharted waters, documenting lands that were completely unknown to Europe. Their journey was not a conquest, but it opened the door to future exploration, trade expansion, and eventually colonial influence. What they encountered was not empty wilderness, but thriving civilizations with complex social systems and deep cultural roots. The arrival of Europeans introduced a complex and often destructive exchange of goods, ideas, and diseases. Trade relationships initially created mutual benefit, but they also introduced dependency and imbalance. European goods began to replace traditional native systems, slowly altering economic and cultural structures. Even more devastating was the arrival of diseases such as smallpox, which spread rapidly among native populations who had no immunity. Without large-scale warfare, entire communities were weakened. marking one of the most tragic and silent transformations in early American history. The land that would become Iowa changed ownership multiple times between European powers. France initially controlled the territory, followed by Spain, then briefly returned to France before becoming part of the United States. These shifts were not felt on the ground by most inhabitants, but they represented massive geopolitical changes driven by European wars and diplomacy far away from the American continent. Each transfer of power brought new policies, new ambitions, and new pressures on the land and its people. In 1803, one of the most significant land deals in world history took place. The United States acquired the Louisiana Territory from France, instantly doubling its size. This acquisition included Iowa, bringing it under American control for the first time. It was not just a land purchase. It was a turning point that reshaped the future of an entire continent. As settlers moved westward, Iowa became part of the expanding American frontier. Families traveled for weeks or months in search of land and opportunity, facing harsh weather, limited supplies, and unknown dangers. The promise of fertile soil attracted thousands, but the reality of frontier life was far more brutal than expected. Survival depended on resilience, cooperation, and sheer determination. As settlement expanded, Native American tribes faced increasing pressure to leave their ancestral lands. Treaties were signed under unequal conditions, often resulting in forced relocation. Entire communities were displaced, losing access to sacred lands, hunting grounds, and cultural centers. This period remains one of the most painful chapters in Iowa's transformation. Early settlements began forming along the Mississippi River due to trade and transportation advantages. Davenport emerged as one of the key river towns, connecting inland agriculture with national trade routes. These early towns were simple but strategic, laying the foundation for future urban development. As governance structures developed, Iowa City became the first capital of the state. It represented a centralized effort to organize law administration and civic development in a rapidly growing territory. In 1846, Iowa officially joined the United States as the 29th state. This moment marked its transition from frontier territory to formal political identity. Des Moines eventually became the capital, growing into the political and economic center of Iowa. Railroads transformed Iowa into a connected economic hub. Thousands of Iowans joined the Union forces during the Civil War.
I'll be back.
Industrialization reshaped Iowa's economy and society. Education became a defining pillar of Iowa's identity. Today, Iowa stands as a quiet but powerful force in America, a land built on history, labor, and resilience.